from the old Razzle, Dazzle, Razzle, Dazzle. Give 'em the old Razzle, Dazzle, Razzle, Dazzle 'em. Show 'em the first-rate sorcerer you are.
Hey everybody, I'm Sammy.
And I'm Jen.
And you're watching this week's episode of The Show Must Go On. Well, Razzlians, it's an honor that we have Carl Wanow, professor and the head department chair of the Communications Finance Department. Thank you very much, Carl Wanow, for being here.
Thank you very much for letting me be here.
So, why did you choose to study theater?
I don't think you choose to study theater. I think theater chooses you to study it. I think Isaac Stern used to say that when about the violin, somebody would say to him, "Why do you play the violin?" And he said, "I play it because I have to." And I think that's the way it is with the theater. The theater is like the priesthood in some way. It's a calling. It's not a rational profession. It's not something that everybody goes into or everybody wants to go into. It's something that you have to go into. And if you can do anything else, I always say, do whatever else you can do except theater, because it's an irrational obsession.
Who inspires you to become a theater major?
It's not just one person, it was really several people. When I was in high school, there was a gentleman by the name of John Crowley, who was the general manager of the Bucks County Playhouse. Bucks County Playhouse in those days was in New Hope, Pennsylvania, and it was one of the great summer stock places. It was on the Straw Hat Circuit. And he was the general manager there. And I used to, as a kid, go down there and see shows there. And he was a drama teacher, and we began to do plays. I went to a military school, strangely enough, in the 60s, which is even stranger. And we would do all sorts of plays like Stalag 17 or the Caine Mutiny Court Martial, those kinds of things. And I found myself most alive and involved when I was working on the plays. And it's like a malady. I call it the disease. And at 14 or 15, once you catch it, you never get cured.
Was there any character that allows you to get out of your Carl realm or as an individual and become that character more?
I think you become the character as best you can, depending on your talent and ability. It depends on what you're doing. There's no one particular kind of character, although I find more often that I'm cast a certain way. I mean, you very find me in plays where I'm wearing overalls talking about the earth, for instance.
Like a hippie or something.
Right, you're not, right, those are not. As my wife said, how many plays can you wear smoking jackets in, and tuxedos and cutaway tails? So you find yourself in those. I do a lot of Shakespeare and classical work too. So I wouldn't say there's any one thing. There are things I feel more comfortable in, but I can't say that there's one thing that I really like to do more than anything else.
Do you feel that non-theater majors should take an acting class?
Oh, I think it's essential. I think that I've always said that theater is the perfect form for study for every field, because what are employers looking for? People who work well in teams, who can take responsibility, who communicate well, who can handle pressure, who can deliver on timelines. That is the stuff of theater. I mean, if you can survive as a theater major, you can do almost anything. It's not a surprise that the head of CBS is Leslie Monvese, who studied acting at the Neighborhood Playhouse. So it's the perfect background and major for anything. And absolutely, I think any major should take it.
Do you feel that it's important to live by the motto, the show must go on, in theater and also in real life?
I think that the show always must go on, and I think that just as the two mottos are, there are no small parts. There's only small actors, and the show must go on. And that's really the mantra for all theater people. That no matter what happens, your pet died, your parents are dead, you've got a favorite aunt is sick. Who cares? If you have the show, you show up and you do the show.
Are there any words of wisdom that you have for people looking to become a theater major and study acting and?
I think all theater, the study of theater is about the performance, the presentation, and the participation in the creative act. So anyone who's interested in theater, that's what you have to do. You just have to get involved. So if you want to do it, do it. Don't talk about it, just do it.
And how do you feel exactly when about the Uta Hagen's and 9 questions and everything and going to your destination, and how do you feel that relates to people in acting?
Well, it's there are many different roads to get to the destination. There is not one way. A great acting teacher, Joe Chaikin, a great actor, a friend of mine went to see him, this is back in the late 70s, and was working on some Julius Caesar speeches. And Joe Chaikin said to him, don't let anybody tell you that Konstantin Stanislavski is the only method or approach to acting. And then he paused for a second and said, and don't let anybody tell you that he's not. And the meaning is that you have to find your own way, that all of these people are out trying to do the same thing. They're trying to get actors who are organic, who are truthful, who can act truthfully under a set of imaginary circumstances. Some people can do it through sense memory. Some people can do it through the imagination. Some people do it through actions and objectives. Some people do it through the Uta Hagen, kind of setting their environment and understanding what their stages are. It doesn't matter. Part of being an acting student is to study those methods and to come up with the way that you can get into a part. Sandy Meisner, who was sort of the Meisner technique, which is what I basically studied, said it takes 20 years to make an actor. And what he meant was it takes 20 years for you to find out what it is that moves you.
How do you feel that being a professor here at Centenary has helped you to progress more in the theater? You're already you are the Carl Wonow and everything.
Am I? I was afraid somebody else might be me. So that's good, because I'm sure it gets my wife confused when too many of me show up. How has it helped me? I suppose that actually, it's actually not a foolish question. When I first started teaching, and this is way back in the 1870s, when Edwin Booth and we used to barnstorm across the country together. But when I first started, I remember going to Jack Bettenbender, who was the dean of Mason Gross School of the Arts, the big theater acting program. And I said, you know, I went down to meet him. I said, you're looking for any advice? And he says, just teach the stuff you like. And he goes, what you teach your passion, teach the things you like, and the students are just going along for the ride. So in a sense, I've had 30 years of just doing the stuff I've liked and having an opportunity to explore and doing all of that stuff, whether it's plays, you have a venue, you have a place, you have people to do it, and students can kind of inspire you. Some of my favorite experiences here have not been the equity productions I've done, but they've been productions like Reimers of Eldridge or Wojcik, things that I thought were student productions that I thought were elevated beyond what I even think the students thought they could do. And those were kind of exciting.
And are there any plays or performances that right now at Centenary that you're looking to have in the future for young performers? Like, well,
I mean, we're doing a play right now. We are opening up a play, The Unfortunates, which came out of our Women's Playwright series, which is about kind of a different perspective on the Jack the Ripper story. The theater department right now is working on Three Penny Opera, which is a very difficult full music. It's an opera. It's a musical. It's an opera. It's like Brecht. It's Kurt Weill. It's a lot of different things. And it's technically difficult and challenging. So, I mean, all of those things, there's always a sense of absolute panic and despair when you begin all of these things. And then it all of a sudden comes together and you go, oh, it's certainly worthwhile. So I think there's a lot of things that are always going on here, which is what makes it exciting. We have multiple spaces, multiple venues, multiple students, multiple programs. We're doing children's theater. We're doing college theater. We're doing the equity theater. We're doing readings. Next year we're starting a thing with Randall Duke Kim, who's a wonderful actor. People might know him as the key maker in The Matrix and also the voice of Kung Fu Panda and all of that stuff. And he's coming in to do master classes this summer, and he's going to do a classic reading series that's going to be free for students, focusing on the great works. I think there's a lot of opportunities here. I think we in some ways, what's interesting is the programs and things we do are far in excess actually of the size of the institution. They are bigger than the world we inhabit and far more challenging and exciting than things that are offered in much grander places than this.
Great. Thank you very much, Carolina, for being here.
Well, thank you very much for having me here.
And talking to us about theater and having the show must go on mentality.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Hey guys, Nate here, and I'm here with Professor Stephen Davis and Morgan Mack, who is a student here at Centenary. She's a theater major, and we're going to talk a little bit about the theater makeup class. And we're going to try and relate it a little bit to fashion since this is the trend spot. So first, I just want you to tell me a little bit about what the theater class is.
No, you can go.
Well, the theatrical makeup class, I had the privilege of being able, when I came to teach here in 2009, fall of 2009, in the spring of 2010, I introduced my theatrical makeup class here. I had worked for the Ben Nye Theatrical Makeup Company out in Los Angeles for about 3 years. And when I was in college, I had a year-long makeup class and was a makeup assistant for 2 years after that. Then after doing theatrical makeup in the college setting, I actually became a makeup artist while I was living in Chicago, worked for the Lyric Opera of Chicago doing makeup for them, and got connected through Dana Nye, who is the president and owner of the Ben Nye Makeup Company, the son of Ben Nye Sr., who worked for Fox makeup department on over 520 films. As in the theater, there's a lot of different components and aspects to the theater that you can be involved in. The great thing about the theater makeup class, it is an elective, so fashion students can take it, and a lot of other theater students take it.
Oh wow, that's really interesting. Do you think this particular type of makeup would translate into photography as well, or would it be like if you were a fashion major and looking into magazines, would this benefit you as well?
I will say this, that the Ben Nye Makeup Company, if you look at Ben Nye's website, they show all the different theatrical makeup component that they do for fashion. You see all these fashion magazines where they use their makeup. Makeup, the component, the makeup that we use in the classes, the makeup that Morgan is using, is a cream-based makeup, so its major component is beeswax, so it's much more dense than matte foundation or other pancake foundation makeup.
Oh, cool. How do you feel being a student in the class, this benefits you? As a theater major, as in life, anything?
It benefits me greatly because when I first came here to Centenary, I didn't really have any kind of idea of what theater really was. I kind of just went and decided to be a theater major. And the makeup helps me, it helps in character development and helps in a whole different way to look at the character that you're playing. I think one of the projects we did was old age makeup, and I chose Lady Bracknell. So if I'm ever lucky enough to play Lady Bracknell when I'm older, like it helps me see what she's really about, how her age affects her, how her status in society affects her. It's really great. I benefit from it greatly for character development.
Very cool. Do you have other students in the class that are not theater majors, but
the majority of the students are actually non-theater majors. When the course was only supposed to be open to 10 students, and at the time that the class, people were registering for the class filled up almost immediately. So we actually expanded the class. 2 of my former students became my makeup assistants. Similar to when I was in high school, I was a painter, I was a sculptor. I actually thought that's what I was going to go study. But then I got involved in a production of Romeo and Juliet my junior year in high school, and that completely changed my mind. Well, the great thing about makeup is it allows you to apply those painting skills, those sculpting skills on your own face, your own palette. And what actor doesn't like to look in the mirror at themselves for 3 hours, 3 hours and 40 minutes on a night while they're in class?
Do you see, when you're in the class, do you see, like, because just listening to you, I can see the passion that you have for this. Like, you've taken, like, 2 things that you love and meshed them together. Like, as a professor, do you see that passion, like, in the class?
I see it in my fellow students, absolutely. Because when we walk in there, a lot of us are, like, worried about whether it's going to be perfect or not. But as soon as we start at whatever project we're doing that week, it's not so much about perfection anymore. It's about just doing, just going, and just having fun. And, you know, I think I've said multiple times we have like worksheets that we're supposed to do for different like sets of makeup and how we break it down and how we apply. No offense, not my favorite part of the class because I just like to go and explore, and a lot of people in the class just like that freedom where you don't necessarily get that if you're doing, you know, structural research papers or you're doing other things for other classes. It's just about having fun, and the class just really lets go.
And I think one of the ways that I allow them to access that part is we do 5-minute makeups, where they have a makeup morgue where they have a bunch of pictures for different like old age or cartoons, and I select a picture and I say, you have 5 minutes to do that picture, go.
Oh.
And mayhem just is
But
like
the great
chaotic.
thing about it is there's no time to think. You have to react. And in the theater world, oftentimes curtain in 5 and you have a makeup to do, that accesses more the real world situation than it does if you have all this time to do the makeup. Doing the worksheets, I know it's not people's favorite thing, but you have to have both sides. You have to have the planning stage and then you have to have the application phase. So you have both stages, both phases of that. Some people excel at one, others excel at something else. I have students who are very good at the planning stage, but not necessarily at the application phase. And so by having them do both, that is something that allows them to challenge themselves. Every single student is challenged. Every single student, challenging people like that is one of the joys of teaching, because they don't necessarily know what they have until they're given the opportunity to do it.
We just have one more question. We ask all of our interviews to do this. We need you to give us our best Razzle face.
Oh, good lord.
It's like a curtain, like the company photo that we did for assembling. You know,
That wasn't
the ridiculous one.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
Welcome to the M&M Corner!
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh, that's funny. Here, have an M&M.
Thank
Or
you.
Let's wait after.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So this week, an episode of the M&M Corner Mixed Up is focused on the Campus Razzle, the show must go on mentality. Let you college students know that it's okay to stress out and be frazzled, but not to allow yourself to get into mode where it does not allow you to continue on the path to finding your Razzle face. The top movies and songs of the week, according to the stuff that discussed stress less and reaching your destination, and really putting yourself into a Back to the Future mentality, like in the movie Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm.
Which who's in that again?
I only saw that movie once, so I don't really remember.
Okay. Well, anyways, go see. It's from the 80s, so it's a really cool movie. So check that out. The next thing is totally deserve to spend a little and save a little, and do our nails and hair and watch movies like Peggy Sue Got Married, which it's going back to the future again, and like the in high school and stuff, she goes back and she realizes and discovers who she is and who she really is, and she understands that. So, and it's cool. So check that out. It's an interesting movie. It's also from like the 80s. Nicolas Cage is in it, so it's pretty cool. So Jen and I, getting involved in the College Corner, we interviewed Brittany DeLacio, and she's a senior here at Centenary, and she talked about her bully project. Premieres it's April 20th through the 22nd in Little Theater. You guys should totally check that.
Someday I'll be.
Hey everybody, I'm Sammy, and we're here with Brittany DeLacio, and of course, Jen is here. This is Getting Involved in the College Corner, what's happening in your area. So today we have Brittany DeLacio talking about the Bully Show project. So thank you very much for being here.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
How did you come up with the idea for your senior thesis to be the Bully Project?
Well, as you know, every major of some sort has to do a senior thesis or a senior project. So ours is a senior thesis, and we have the option to do whatever we want. We could direct, we could choreograph, anything, just anything theater-esque. So I wanted to challenge myself, and I wanted to direct. And at first I didn't know what exactly I wanted to direct. I knew I couldn't do something so big because I wanted to do it and do it well. I didn't want to, half it and not do it to the full potential with a, not a well set and not as many costumes as the play should have. So I was talking to my advisor, Leah, and she said, why don't you do something for Children's Tour, one of our classes? And I said, yeah, that's a good idea. So we picked this bullying play. It's called The Bully Plays, and there's a bunch of 10-minute scenes about bullying. So I picked 3 from there, and they're, I would say, from middle school to high school. That's about the age group to watch, and of course adults too. So each of them have a different take about bullying, of talking about the bully, the bullied, and the bystander, and how they all deal with it.
in terms of with reality and having a kind of the show still must go on in real life and being a theater major and everything, and how do you incorporate that into your in dance and everything? How do you incorporate that into your show?
Well, I'm sure we've all been bullied in some way, shape, or form. There's different forms of bullying, and I'm sure we've all been the bully, you know, at times, maybe not to the extreme, but it's a very serious thing that's out there in the world, and a lot of schools deal with it. That's, you know, where a lot of the kids are, so schools in general are going to deal with it more. I just wanted it to be aware that even when I was a kid I was bullied, but I'm still bullied today, and, you know, it's not just me who's bullied, it's a lot of people, and it's a very serious topic, and I want it to be more well known because I don't feel that it is. So I decided by doing that in a fun take, not all my plays are serious that we're doing, especially one is more of a funny take on it, but I want it still well known as a serious thing, and I wanted also a different abstract form of it, dance, to be incorporated, and, you know, how we go throughout it with our bodies. Bullying, you know, bullying isn't just words, so it's your actions too. So that's how I decided to do that.
I think it's actually very good that that everybody is trying to, you know, put on some kind of production that deals with a social issue. I mean, sociology major, you know, I can definitely say I'm very happy that people are trying to, you know, send all these messages out about like social
positive and everything.
Yeah, there
are bullying out there. So.
Yeah, and there's a ton of like social issues out there, and so like even if you just pick one, I think that's still pretty good. Oh, you are being picked on, you know, you got to try to shake it off as much as you can, but if it becomes a serious issue, then it should be reported. And well, you know, there's all different types of levels of bullying, but if it's like a serious one, like maybe you should contact the police. Schools should be aware that students are getting bullied, and sometimes bullying even prevents them from even going to school.
There's also help warrants and everything too for them. But,
yeah.
And of course then there's theater, so you get involved in that world and you try not to hopefully act like that bully because you see it live performed. That's how. So. And go and see the Bully Project, which premieres April 20th through the 23rd. Right?
22nd. Yeah.
And that's all the time we have. So thank you.
If all the world is a stage, and what does it mean if you do not have a stage?
Well, you don't really have a production.
Yeah, but it's the answer to this little question, I would say, is a stage world that is not razzling or pinkified.
Oh, well, that is just sad.
Like
yeah, but just like all, you know, thespians, you actually have to improvise. I mean, hey, you could probably just like stand around and try to put on a scene in like, you know, mud or something.
Okay. Cool. We got a lot of like feedback from like other colleges, so that was interesting.
That is amazing.
That was so
I can't
cool.
even tell you. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, and of course you gotta submit those campus Razzle photos, please.
We're running out of ideas.
I know. It's just like Frazzle. No.
Oh
no! Please submit those photos. So that'd be really cool to hear you guys have those hilarity moments, so that we can talk about it. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So get your Razzle face on, and you're watching CCTV. So stay tuned for next week, Campus Razzles.
On your mark.